Hi, I'm Sarah Pettick with Noble Invention Bike Touring, and I am back bike packing on the C&O Canal Towpath. I've ridden the C&O multiple times, and I actually have bike packed on here multiple times. This was the first trail that I tried out bike packing 12 years ago. So it's always fun to come back, and I always see a lot of people touring and camping out on the trail. It's a very accessible trail because there are hiker-biker campgrounds every 8 to 10 miles. There are towns along most of the trail, and for the most part, it is a level and well-maintained surface. So it's a great place to try out bike packing, and it's a great place to maybe cover some practical tips, some practical advice that I've learned over my 12 years of bike touring and bike packing that could be helpful if you are either a beginner to bike packing or if you've tried it a couple times but still feel like maybe there's some things that you could improve on or you could enjoy it more. I'm going to ride for 4 days. I'm going to do 2 days out from Cumberland towards DC and then turn around. We'll see how far I get and go back to Cumberland. So 4 days total. If you're interested in seeing the entire C&O towpath, I do have a series of videos that I will link to where we ride all the way to DC, and you can follow along with me on that. But follow along with me here as we ride out of Cumberland and see some of this first part of the trail. We are at the Paw Paw Tunnel, and the detour is still in effect. The tunnel itself you can always go into, but at this point in time the trail beyond the tunnel is still closed. They're doing whatever work they continue to do. So the next step in our journey today is to go up the infamous Paw Paw detour. So that was my day one. I am here in camp now, so I thought I would just briefly go over what is probably one of the favorite things, if not the favorite things for bike packers to talk about, which is their gear. For the most part, I try to keep my situation pretty simple. Here's what I will say about bikes and bike packing. I think you ride the bike you have and do the best with what you've got. If you have a chance to upgrade or to do other things with it, great. But I have come across so many people riding so many different types of bikes. So in terms of bikes, I don't think you have to have the lightest bike or the newest bike, but I will say for bike touring, there are benefits to some of the newer things that they've done, having grommets all along the forks, having better ways to attach your racks and your bags or your panniers. So I think it's worth looking into, but I wouldn't let it hold you back. The next critical issue is bags though. Panniers versus bike packing bags, or I'll call them frame bags. The first time I bike packed on the C&O, I did use panniers, but after that, I've always used frame bags or bike packing bags. The benefit for me, why I like them, is because it distributes the weight centrally along the bike, and for me, that feels more comfortable over a long period of time on my joints and how it balances. There's a lot of range on the pannier side as well. My latest setup, which is new to this bike, is I gave in and got the Tailfin, and the reason that I chose that was because I know I really like a saddlebag. I really like something behind the seat for the majority of my weight of my luggage, and so this does that with it being rigid. But also the reason I didn't go with like a rack and a smaller pannier in the back is that the Tailfin puts all of that bag and that weight up higher than even the quick release panniers are. Like this is right behind me. And so for me, I feel that is more comfortable, and that's what I choose. A couple of other gear things that I always, that I like to have, I always, every time use my anything cages. So I will have them on my front fork, and then on this Tailfin, I have the ability to put it on the like down part of the rack of the Tailfin. So the anything cages are just, again, like every time, I've always used them. They're fantastic. All of the tips and advice that I'm giving are for the everyday, just going out and doing some bike packing kind of bike packer. I actually use the big Agnes bike packing tent, the Fly Creek HVUL2. And when this came out, their big claim is that the tent poles, they fold to a much shorter overall length than a standard tent pole. And always before, you're trying to find places that you can stick these tent poles that are probably this much longer, always an issue, and it just never efficiently packs. So again, bought this of my own money, but will say works as expected. Having that shorter pack down length of the tent poles really does make it so much easier to pack. Day 2 has been an absolutely gorgeous day on the C&O. It was maybe 60s, in the 60s or 70s, great temps. I really wish I could show how you can hear just all the birds singing all day long. You're going through the trees. It's May, so all of the leaves are out in the super bright green, and the sun filters down through them, and you're just like in this green hall corridor the whole way through. So just a beautiful section. I rode, so I camped last night just before Hancock, and I went all the way to Shepherdstown, and then starting on my way back tomorrow. So you pass through a number of the lock ruins of the lock system, and then in Williamsport you get to see the restored lock as well. So follow along with me as we ride through day 2. that was day 2. Overall, just as you can see, a beautiful day, but I was feeling really tired just before lunch, and I know exactly why it is, and it's because I did not eat enough food in the morning. And this is going to be my first piece of advice for the average bike packer is you are probably not eating enough food. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, and please don't take this as specific nutrition advice. Do the research for yourself. But I have found this overall, and I know a lot of other people have too, is when you're doing an all-day event, which is like what bike packing is, you're basically riding all day. You are probably not eating enough if you get that feeling in the middle of the day where you're just, oh, I just can't do another pedal. I have to make all these games with myself to keep going. And then after lunch, you're just like, woo, ready to go. I got another 5 hours in me. So it's a very common thing. And for me, the best strategy I've found over the years is to first eat more real food and also to eat throughout the day. That's pretty common knowledge now, but it's still really hard to do. And with the video stuff this morning, I got like an hour and a half behind, and I ended up not eating when I should have. And so, yes, I had just was very tired before lunch. But the good news is there's a fix. So my strong recommendation is certainly have a good breakfast, of course, have a good dinner, but you don't want to place all of your nutrition on those 2 meals. Like, you don't want to just kind of eke it out through the day and then say, I'm going to have a real big dinner, because that's not going to do it for you. You need to eat throughout the day. Now, what that is going to depend on, every person has a little bit different needs. But in general, when you're doing an all-day event, it's not like a race or a training ride where you really need those short energy carbs. So I think for me, I rely less on the quick sugars and the gels, although I do have those on me if I need them, and more on getting like little pieces of a fig bar or a pro bar or some dried fruit or things like that, and definitely now protein, little bits of it, but continuously throughout the day. So every hour and a half. So that's going to be my first bit of advice. Along with that, kind of adjacent as a tip for me, and this is something that I recommend for travelers in general, is to always have some emergency backup food with you. Even on a place like the C&O, you never know, but I always keep a little bit of like a bar, like a granola bar, something like that with me. And if I'm traveling, particularly internationally, I'll usually carry a little packet of like instant oatmeal is like my emergency go-to, because as long as I have potable water or even like potable liquid of any kind, it's not going to taste really good, but like I can make something and eat it out of that instant oatmeal, and I know I can get through the night or whatever I need until I can get some more real food. So I think it's important to always have a little bit of an emergency something on you. And similarly, I strongly recommend always having some potable water or liquid on you, and don't go through all of the water you have unless you are for sure that you can refill it, because that is the hardest thing to get through, is when you run out of water or any kind of liquid, and where you thought that a grocery store was going to be open or a restaurant was going to be open and it's not open and you can't find anything. That is a really tough night, and I have gone through that. It is not good. So I strongly recommend you always keep a little bit of water, like a half of a bottle, even a quarter if you absolutely have to eke it out behind, that you don't drink unless you are like at your limit. And then when you find a place that you can fill up completely. So that is also my kind of emergency food and water that I really recommend that people just make as a strategy. That's what you always do, and that way you don't run into those really dire situations. So I think those are my kind of food related pieces of advice for just making your next bike packing trip and any future bike packing trips a little bit more enjoyable and a less chance that you're going to run into kind of those emergency situations. So hopefully that helps, and I'm getting ready to end the day and then looking forward to tomorrow.